I can only put my trust in the fact that these two guys, whether it be one more than the other, both in collaboration, I don't care how it gets done, but I can only hope that he is the guy for the job and better than Bobby Slowik.
But the Houston Texans have hired an offensive coordinator. Nick Caley is the newest offensive coordinator for the Houston Texans. Kaylee, of course, coming over from the Rams, where he was the passing game coordinator, tight ends coach, was with McVay for a couple of years. Prior to that, was with the Patriots forever, went to John Carroll, which is the same school that Nick Caserio went to. He interviewed for the Texans offensive coordinator job whenever it went to Bobby Slowik, so a lot of familiarity between Kaylee and the Texans. Blankers, first-time play caller. How do you feel about the hire?
You hit
of
it.
Nick Caley?
You know me. I have to put, in Nick we trust. I have to put all my trust in Nick and D'Amico. They got their guy. Hopefully he's the right guy. Hopefully the reservations that I have don't come to fruition, because the biggest thing to me that I have concerns with is first-time play caller, first-time OC. The fact that I'm, from a guy's coming in, yeah, I know he could be an innovative mind. I love the fact that, he knows the McVay system and he can bring in a lot of creativity. But I don't know what I don't know, so I don't know how he's going to play call. I don't know if he's going to make the same mistakes Bobby Slowik makes. I can only put my trust in the fact that these two guys, whether it be one more than the other, both in collaboration, I don't care how it gets done, but I can only hope that he is the guy for the job and better than Bobby Slowik.
Yeah, I think that's the goal, right? Like when you fire somebody, you try to get better at the position. I'm okay with the hire of the list, which I think was a pretty underwhelming list. Mm-hmm. Like Chip Kelly signs for tons of money, $6 million, which is more, I think it's double of what any offensive coordinator was getting. It's more money than D'Amico Ryans makes. So that was a pretty high number. If the Texans really wanted Chip Kelly, could they have landed Chip Kelly? I think so. I think they could have done that, although I don't know if they were going to pay him $6 million.
That.
Yeah, either you bump D'Amico or Cal's never been cheap, though. So, I don't think that money was the issue. I don't think that they really wanted him.
Never quit.
There you go. Money's never because he doesn't quit. But some of the other veteran offensive coordinators that we thought could be considered for the Houston Texans never were. It was a pretty underwhelming list whenever you look at the offensive coordinator candidates and interviews that they had. I believe that the Houston Texans knew they were hiring Nick Caley since December. I really do. I think that they made a decision, not publicly, obviously, but I think in-house, D'Amico, Caserio, I believe that they knew they were moving on from Bobby Slowik. I think they already knew that Nick Caley was going to be the guy, and I think that's what led to the weird timing of when they fired Slowik, like D'Amico coming out Monday, kind of dropping some hints, but then they don't do it until Friday. Nick Caley pulling out of some of these interviews, like he was the top target, according to reports, for the New York Jets. It's like, nah, I'm good. I don't want anything to do with that. The Texans put together this list of candidates that were like, okay, this isn't fantastic. They dropped the Brian Johnson bombshell the other day. That would be the worst hire you could possibly have. Yeah, I think that they knew it was going to be Nick Caley for a long time. Familiar with the Texans, familiar with Caserio, back to, again, same school of John Carroll. They were with each other in New England. They've interviewed Nick Caley before, so D'Amico's familiar with him. Yeah, I think that they knew who it was.
I certainly hope so, because of the fact that I'm in total agreement that was an underwhelming list. I had thrown out Mike LaFleur. I wanted guys that had experience, that had kind of cross paths with either. It would be ideal to have cross paths with both, which in the case of some of these guys that were out there, like a LaFleur that had McVay experience, Shanahan type experience with both guys, that they could bring in everything to it. I wanted an experienced play caller. I hope that's exactly the case, because, again, we don't know, but there's more trust that I have to put in these two guys, because watching the way the process unfolded, as you described it, if they didn't, that's a scary, scary proposition that, again, doesn't make me feel any better about the new hire. However, if they did, and this was kind of the way that they were already kind of setting their dominoes in order before they even got to the point where they had to let Bobby Slowik go, then I'm totally good with it.
I believe that if they didn't know before they fired Slowik, they would have put together a more illustrious list. I think there would have been more sizzle.
I think Chip Kelly, because you and I were talking about, I would think Chip Kelly would have gotten an interview regardless.
At least an interview.
Yeah.
Even if you don't hire him, at least an interview. So that's kind of, look, it's just a theory. I have zero inside information here. And half of the time I'm a bumbling stuttering, rambling idiot. So, like, I could very well be off on this. But just the way that it stacks up, like not that we knew the Texans' disdain in Bobby Slowik, but, like, listen to the D'Amico press conferences after they had good defensive games. Our offense has got to get better. Like, he sounded defeated almost when it came to the offense. Nick Caserio had, like, that backing up Bobby Slowik moment, but that was still, like, 4 weeks left in the season. Like, there was still a lot of time with that. They get beat by Kansas City at Arrowhead on Saturday. D'Amico opens up his press conference. I know I'm going to be asked staff questions. We don't know yet. Hey, how did you think Slowik did? We think he got better with the year. Red flag. Red flag.
Well,
you wait
the
until
players'
Friday to
comments
finally
were a
do it.
eulogy.
And then a list that's not very, very good. Yeah. I mean, Mixon kind of backed him up and supported him, but Stroud definitely.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But the way they even backed him up was like almost in past tense, or like as a last chance, last ditch effort to try and save his job. Like they knew it was coming too. So I hope that is the case, and because we know that during the season that there was a ton of stuff done by, especially D'Amico, but even to the point of Nick Caserio, to try and protect and deflect from Bobby Slowik when he wasn't making halftime adjustments, when he wasn't doing the things, whether it be with the offensive line or the offense or the play calls, that we all had scratched our temple on, pointed fingers at, and went, what the hell was that? Mm-hmm. That there had to be enough substance there that they knew in the behind the scenes meeting rooms that this wasn't going to be good enough going forward.
Yeah, and look, we don't know how it's going to pan out. Mm-mm. Like that's kind of the conversation we were having last week, and we disagree with like the first time play caller thing. There's no reason to rehash that. I'm okay with a first time play caller. I'm all about getting it right, like hiring the guy that you think is the absolute best, whether it's his first time or whether it's his 10th time. But personnel, how they work with the staff, how they work with the players that are currently on this, we don't know how it's going to go. But a few of the things that I like about Nick Caley, I do like that he spent time in New England. Like that, a lot of times people look at that and like, oh, gross. I don't love that. I like it. I mean, the Patriots were, and look, he wasn't there in the early goings. He didn't get there until 2015. But you're with Bill Belichick, who is arguably the greatest head coach of all time. You can learn some things there, even if you're not taking everything from him. I love Sean McVay. I think Sean McVay is the second best offensive mind in the NFL behind Andy Reid. So you get to spend 2 years with Sean McVay? Okay, I like that. Tight ends coach, passing game coordinator. Very much instrumental on what the protection's going to be because tight ends have to be in line sometimes. They block. You look at the Rams, they did a lot of 12 personnel. The Rams over the years have been very innovative on how they change personnel change packages and formations depending on who their personnel is. So there's a lot of things I really like about Nick Caley. Do I think it's going like a slam dunk automatic? Nothing's a slam dunk automatic. Chip Kelly wouldn't have been a slam dunk automatic. But there are things I like about the hire. It was, for me, from the list that they had, so that doesn't include Chip Kelly, the list that they had, I wanted either Gerard Johnson or Nick Caley. They end up with Nick Caley. I'm content. I am happy. Let's see how it goes. Because Nick Caserio, Slowik lacked feel, in my opinion, especially this year. Like, I thought he was really good game planning, binary Bobby, really good getting ready for a game, really bad at adjusting. He got punched in the face, the whole Mike Tyson thing. Everybody has a game plan until they get punched in the face. Well, he repeatedly got punched in the face and had no response all year long. We have no idea if Nick Kelly's going to be good at feel or good at adjustments because he's never called plays, like to your point. But he might be. So I'm going to reserve judgment on that. I am good with who they had interviewed and who they ultimately landed on.
Yeah, I'm good with it. Well, based upon the list that they had, because I said this when the process started, and I still believe it. My first choice would have been Chip Kelly, but clearly it doesn't seem like whether it be because they didn't want him or because of the money they thought he was going to get, which was obviously was $6 million from the Raiders, then he wasn't considered. But amongst this list, Nick Caley was my choice because. I mean, I would have been fine with Gerard, but I just wanted some new ideas from the outside, especially since they promoted from within on the offensive coach. To promote from within for the offensive line coach and the OC coming off the way that season went for the offense and for the offensive line would, to me, have been rubber stamping a run it back that wasn't deserved, and I didn't want that. It almost, in this situation with the timing and the way it played out and the list, like you mentioned, Jeremy, almost feels like, I don't know what the split was, who was on with who, and who wanted which guy more. But it almost feels like Nick Caley maybe have been the runner-up to Bobby Slowik the last time around. And after that Ravens game, I'm guessing they looked at each other like, okay, we messed up a couple years ago when we hired Bobby. Nick Caley's the guy. Let's go get this done.